Hello everyone, it is dark again and it is a wonderful time to be alive because part 3 of my Honkai review and analysis is finally getting out today. I have been omega hyped to do this one ever since I started Honkai because I've only heard good things from this. And yeah, I heard the Starfall animation, well, not animation, song before this began, and I instantly fell in love. TRA covers it. I put the OST in this video as well. It's quite fucking amazing if I do say so myself. And few corrections I need to make from my last video and the video before that. Einstein is a girl. It is not a he, it is a she. I'm sorry so many of you had to correct me in the previous video. I really am sorry. Yeah. Another correction that I'll do so my friend doesn't go off on me is Herrscher of Bronya is also a Gurren Lagann reference. I have no clue how I didn't notice that since I'm a really big Gurren Lagann fan. But yeah, Giga Drill Blake goes burr, I guess. In the last video I also saw a few complaints about the voices mixing in and everything. Listen, I hate editing my voice during videos. Editing footage in isn't nearly as bad as it is to edit the voice. It's just horrible. Trust me. Oh, you have no idea how bad it is. But yeah, I hope you're ready for this video because I had a lot of fun making this one. I just really didn't like editing my voice out of this. So I hope you guys do enjoy this video. If you do, you know what to do. Leave a comment down and I'll maybe give it another shout out. Thank you. Chapter 11EX, much like 9EX, brings us back to Arc City. The perspective in 9EX was that of Rita the Hunter and the Far East trio. This time, we are on the perspective of Kiana, how she's been faring. In this short CG, Kiana is watching a mother protect their child from an incoming Honkai beast. As this is happening, a voice is telling Kiana she shouldn't touch the Honkai. Kiana ignores the voice and goes to save the mother and child. Despite going through horrors in the tundra and witnessing her mentor die, Kiana hasn't stopped fighting for the sake of others. Only difference is that she is now doing it in self-destruction. In this combat, we have her classic white comet outfit but with an orange jacket. However, there is one major difference in her gameplay. We get a special bar with 2 charges. This fight we encounter is a fight of survival. We don't need to attack the Honkai beasts at all. However, if we do, the special bar fills up. And if we fill it up, the Herrscher of the Void takes over Kiana's body and we lose. If we manage not to let the bar fill out for the set amount of time, a special blue portal will appear and the game will tell us the humans have fled. Once we enter into stage 2 of this fight, a danger sign surrounds Kiana. Only this time, it's not for a boss fight. We see a hopeless Kiana say she can only fled. But the danger that was awaiting were 3 Honkai beasts and the Herrscher of the Void playing with Kiana's mind. She's trying to convince Kiana to give Sirin her body, since they are all prey and she is the predator. Once we beat the beast, Kiana grabs her head in a pain and a CG plays out. In the CG, we see Honkai beasts directly form and start to attack Kiana. Despite going through everything, Kiana still says that she doesn't want to die here. That will to be alive was a crack for Sirin to take over Kiana's body and release a laughter. Whilst the screen goes into darkness, the same voice from before yells out Kiana's name. During the darkness, we see Kiana falling through what looks like a void. Her head thinks about how life flashes before she dies. But she herself isn't aware if she is dead or not. Did the Honkai beast pierce her? During this, Kiana also goes through depression thoughts at 2 AM in the morning. She asks herself if she is worthy enough to be alive. Is she beyond redemption? Does she just have to live with the fruits of her deeds? She tried to recollect memories of her past, but those were all shattered. Kiana appears in a different dimension now, and the person waiting at the end is Sirin, but in purple dust like particles. Once we arrive, a Kiana on the left and a Thyrsa with Mei on the right appear. Sirin begins talking how they promised to bring her back home, but they found out her real self. Sirin questions if they will still welcome her with open arms, and how the girl named Kiana doesn't really exist anymore. She also mentions how her friends saving her are them actually trying to destroy her. As she says that, the Kiana figure disappears and the Thyrsa and Mei figures begin attacking Kiana. They are apologetic to her, but they're also telling her how they must do this, and that she is a monster that shouldn't exist. Once we beat them, the next location shows Fuhua. This time, Sirin speaks about Fuhua and how she betrayed her. She brings up Kiana's thoughts of her being a cold person that still cared for others and wanted to teach her something. Yet, at her moment of need, she was there to backstab her and bring her to Otto. But when we fought Fuhua, unlike Mei and Theresa, Fuhua was telling us not to listen to Sirin, and that we need to fight it back. Once we defeat Fuhua, we head to our final memory. This time, Otto appears, but Kiana is left out. Otto explains how Kiana isn't a real human. She was forced from mixing cells of Kiana and Skadiak genes, with genes of Sirin as well. This is how Sirin got a second chance in life. Otto also explains how the name Kiana has no real meaning, as her real name is K423. With that, we begin fighting Kiana copies, but they aren't called Kiana. There are 22 copies from K401 to K422. Throughout the fight, Sirin is cheating us to destroy them and fight. After we beat them, Sirin begins to laugh in victory as her eye views through a shattered dimension. She tells Kiana how her childhood memories and everything were lies. But in the midst of all of these lies, all of these thoughts to bring Kiana to release Sirin inside her body, we hear the soothing voice again. The soothing voice that has interrupted us 3 times so far. It was the voice of Fuhua. The voice when we fought Fuhua a little while ago wasn't Sirin's illusion like the other ones. It was this real Fuhua. Sirin is notably pissed off, but Sirin says it's a waiting game at this point and she will win this one. After that mini speech, we're brought back to Arc City, where Kiana grabs her head and starts cowering. Fuhua says that Kiana needs to face the truth and stop pretending that nothing happened. She needs to stop ignoring her like she has been for the past 3 months. She needs to stop fighting and using Valkyrie powers. Fuhua also says one last thing. She can't care for her forever, and that she needs to get on with herself. The tiniest crack in her defenses, and Sirin will take over and destroy everything. Kiana snaps at Fuhua. Care for her? She's been doing nothing but spying on her. She should return to Otto. She's Otto's spy and she doesn't need her. She accomplished her stupid mission that she should go back. Fuhua remains silent. Kiana keeps yelling at her. Say something, damn it! Fuhua finally speaks up and tells her how she has no choice, that Feng Wong Down activated Zeroth power, and that's how they're bound together forever now. Kiana is left in awe and shock, but Fuhua doesn't let that stop her from saying what she needs to say. She tells her that she needs to find her friends, and that they're the only ones who can save her. Kiana denies it all and tells Fuhua the only way to save herself is to get her out of her head. In a side note from Fuhua, she says that if worst comes to worst, she will need to have all 3 of them fall together. Man, what the hell? Kiana has been suffering for 3 months, ignoring the only help she has had, and once she finally cracks a listen at the help, Sirin's word got to her head and she refused it. Kiana is under some serious mental damage here, in denial even. For all you who say I'm gonna go through emotional turmoil, this is even worse than Rin's death. What the hell, man? This is messed up. She's only 15 years old, for Christ's sake. And even after trying to calm Kiana, Fuhua still says she is there to kill all 3 of them down if worst comes to worst. Like, what the fuck? The environment for the next part of the story in Arc City is in rain, symbolizing how Kiana is now. Depressed, lost, angry, a mix of emotions that's raining inside her. She tried recollecting some old memories. In 2013, when she first enrolled into St. Freya, how she met Himeko, got her first lesson. In her second memory, we get to know more about Himeko and Kiana. Kiana's dad left her at the age of 12, and Himeko found out about the real world at the age of 19. How Himeko had plans for a happy future, and how all of that was destroyed by Honkai. Her father was turned into a Honkai beast and couldn't even recognize her daughter. The reason she enrolled into St. Freya was because of a certain woman who wanted nothing more but to plant and grow flowers. That woman also saved Himeko from failure, and told her she has to begin somewhere. To end all this, Himeko invites Kiana to a sparring session where the fight ends because Himeko's drunk state got the better of her. As the final memory, we see Kiana, Mei, and Branya on their first field mission, where Himeko explains what they must do on the field. Watch in front and back of them as well, not only to pay attention to the enemy but to your friends as well, because your friends can succumb to the Honkai. If that were to happen, they would need to be the ones to cut their lives short, because they could make a lot of further damage. Kiana asks what to do if Himeko were to be the one. Himeko tells her to do the same, but she promises them that nothing will happen to them during this mission, since she will be there to protect them. Kiana continues to explore further, and she encounters Sirin again, But this time, Sirin is telling her just to use her powers. They are hers, after all. She wouldn't want to die, would she now? Upon saying that, a Honkai beast, the Valkyrie Hunter, encounters her, and upon beating it, Kiana is transferred to a mysteriously sad road. Rain still going strong, Sirin begins to be angered towards Kiana now. She calls her a coward. Pathetic. A little pathetic coward with nowhere to run. After that, Sirin summons Honkai beasts, and once we defeat them, Sirin is there to take over Kiana's mind. All this playing with Kiana's mind, all these horrors and mix of emotions, can bring the downfall to the most strong-willed people. Kiana witnessed her mentor die to save her. She went through countless turmoils and nightmares over the course of 3 months. Her constant exposition to the Honkai, Sirin even being able to persuade her against Fuhua. All this negativity, the scene, it all accumulates to a horrific scene that no one should live through, in fiction or in real life. Grabbing her gun, eyes full of tears, Kiana says she will end all this. The CG zooms out with a white shining background, and we see Kiana point a gun to her chin, about to commit suicide in order to stop Sirin. Right as she is about to pull the trigger, Fuhua intervenes and stops her. Time is not yet to fall into desperation. Sirin, ticked off, tells Fuhua this girl's sole purpose is to be her mortal vessel. This also brings us back to Sirin's speech of how she hates Kiana. In this talk, Fuhua gives her own speech as well. She has made many mistakes, she has trusted many wrong people, but she will never give up. That's just who she is, especially when someone else has put so much faith in her. With this, a boss fight with Sirin inside her mind begins, thanks to the Feng Wang down. This boss fight is nothing like the other Sirin fights. This Sirin fight is downright unfair towards the player. She has infinite ultimate dodges that trap you in a dimension where time is slowed, and you get impaled by a billion lances. Not only that, but she can also summon Benares and fire off 3 lances from the sky, 2 times rather than once. She can summon 4 lightning bolts that have a wide area of attack. She can launch 2 void lances at point blank range like bullets, and not only that, but this time, if you are comboing too much, she will explode away. Unlike the first fight where you have time to dodge it, here she does it instantly with no reaction whatsoever. Not only that, but halfway through the fight she gains a shield that only elemental attacks can breach. Once you get Sirin below 50% HP, 3 different Himekos help you beat her. After this, as Sirin is about to land a Void Lance on Kiana, Fuhua uses her powers to suppress Kirin, saying she is on her own now. Before the final stage unrolls, a CG begins playing out. Kiana is running away from Honkai beasts. She's all tuckered out, and before they begin assaulting her, something blasts them away. Once Kiana raises her head, she sees the very fabric of reality shadow like grass as a familiar figure walks. He walks up to Kiana, giving her words of encouragement as she herself shatters away. Kiana gains encouragement from this and says that she will never run away from herself again. As this happens, Kiana's body levitates with a golden glow. Several void lances are behind her as a wonderful opera is singing in the background. Kiana's eyes stop crying, and one of her eyes evolves into a warm golden glow as her outfit and playstyle evolves. Kiana has become the Void Drifter now. Her suit is black, white with orange lines. Black color symbolizing the death of her negative thoughts, white color symbolizing her future and her state of mind, and finally, orange representing warmth of Himeko and Kiana's confidence. Kiana's fighting style now consists of 2 void guns firing laser void bullets. Her ultimate dodge, instead of stopping time, now summons a void hole, pulling all enemies in. Her skill summons a mini void hole, launching enemies into the air and stopping them for a brief amount of time. If you hold her normal attack, she will use her void lance as a melee fighting stance. This fills out the special bar above her HP. Once it fills up, it stuns Kiana for a brief amount of time instead of causing game over. And finally, her ultimate. Her ultimate launches herself up and sets an area of detonation. She punches the ground and nukes all enemies beside her. Once we defeat all these Honkai beasts, Fuhua is there in awe on how Kiana conquered the Void Queen's powers. Kiana grieves over the fact that if she had only done this earlier. Fuhua tells her to stop grieving as Himeko wouldn't be happy to see her sad like this. Kiana finally acknowledges Fuhua's existence and actually even listens to her. She says she will stop dwelling on her past grievances, how she will move on. After this, Fuhua invites Kiana into a scene of a rising sun, saying that she is sealed only temporarily, and that they still need to prepare for her if she does decide to come out again. Once this ends, we see Void Drifter's wind pose. Her gun is pointed to the sky as a sign of victory, and her eyes are closed for an extended period of time before she opens them, looking at us, signifying she is looking towards the future. Holy character development, what was this? This is the best Honkai storytelling that exists, what the hell? Kiana, I fucking love you. We stand Kiana around these parts. On a more serious note, I really love Mihoyo's approach to suicide here. Despite being in the shittiest situations, there will always be someone who will be there for you. Someone who doesn't want to see you gone. I love the message they give out here. Suicide is never the option, people. No matter how much you dwell in those dark thoughts, just stay away from them. There has to be someone. I really love how they develop Kiana here as well. And they make Sirin's words have so much weight over Kiana's mind. This was also perfectly wrapped up. And I delayed this for Sea of Quanta? What was wrong with me? Much shorter than the other two, but I managed to analyze a lot more. Now let's move on to the main section of this video, or the real star of this video, as per se, for chapters 13 and 14. A shooting star streaking across the night. Opening up with chapter 13, Arc Nocturne. In the opening of this chapter, we see two different sections, Story and Oniric Arc. I won't be going much into the Oniric Arc as that's more so full of challenges. Much like the previous chapters of 11 and 12, we have the enhancement section for our characters, Rita and Kiana in this case, where we can select different Valkyrie suits, stigmata sets and weapons alongside 4 different battle effects. And unlike the garbage system of gacha in the chapters 11 and 12, here we get to upgrade the suits based off how we progress in the story. On top of that, the main menu of chapter 13 also tells us we are in the Heliopolis part of Arc City with a small, barely visible title under it, Life Sciences. Not to mention, Kiana is starred right in the menu of chapter 13 with Rita behind her. Kiana holding a view of determination to do something, and Rita in her Argent Knight Artemis suit with more relaxed look. Contrary to the preview of chapter 13 where Rita is in the front with a worrisome look and Kiana is behind her looking away. Without further ado, let's begin the story of chapter 13. In the opening of chapter 13, a corridor is open. Empty, barren, full of dust. Despite this area being unknown to him, the Grey Serpent waltzed through as if the corridor itself was telling him where to go. It's as if he's been there a million times. This was the location where the Sire returned to Earth and where the Sire was sealed in the Sea of Quanta. Thus, the day had finally arrived. Grey Serpent was finally called by his Sire to his side again. Once the Serpent approached a giant door. With nothing but words, the Serpent opened these giant doors. Be reborn in destruction. After the door, we saw him, Kevin, await on his throne. A violin was playing in the background as if a grey evil had been awakened. The Serpent apologizes for not being able to welcome them here in person, but Kevin doesn't mind it. Kevin asks about the state of the plan, where the Serpent brings him good news. He also brings up a new person called Jekyll, who is nearly done with her research. Kevin gives the green light for his project to finally begin executing. Once he does, the Grey Serpent speaks up again. He mentions a gift to celebrate his return, and the violin goes from a craving danger to a more serious, hyped, and fired tone. He pulls out a very familiar greatsword. It looked as if time had done its job. It was dulled, damaged, and had lost its previous shine. Despite all that, when Kevin took it into his hand, all of those negatives disappeared. Once the blade was relit, it was revealed that it was the trustworthy friend, the judgment of Shamash. The sword was full of life and flame to show how serious Kevin is with his plan for humanity. In chapter 1, we get a view from the civilians. Honkai swarms were attacking the city, people panicking including the military forces. Alarms sounding off in the distance. One of the mechs notices something in front of him. A silhouette of someone, who disappears and reappears as if it were a ninja in front of them. This person was Kiana. As she was fighting the Honkai beasts, we heard a crowd of voices in Fuhua's voice. The crowd of voices was relit with hope and wondering who this mysterious heroine was. Whilst Fuhua's voice was more toned down to that of a mentor. She was teaching Kiana how to fight and access her energy more efficiently. Once the Honkai beasts were defeated, Fuhua hurries Kiana to leave as to not get too many witnesses of her existence. To the crowd, she looked like a shadow, but to a person observing her from the shadow, she was very much alive. That person was Jackal, the scientist the serpent had mentioned earlier. Alongside Jackal, we had a second person named Raven, observing her. They were talking about the Shensho, and how much interest Shixel is showing into her whereabouts. The two laugh and say that Raven has a surprise for her. On section 2, we get to Rita's point of view. She's talking to Otto about intel on Kiana. She also mentions how this race has another horse ahead of them, being the World Serpent. Otto orders Rita to head back to Arc City and locates Kiana before them. Rita is worried about this revealing their motives, but Otto has a plan. The plan is that Rita will infiltrate as an official guest or officer, part of the inspection team to the Heliopolis Life Sciences, who have been offering free support to the cities struck by Honkai. Otto brings up that they can do this thanks to Shixel supplying them with the vaccines over the past 5 months thanks to their base in Shensho. Rita proceeds with the plan and begins landing. One of her allies, Alviter, calls up, but Rita tells her to stand by. As Rita is about to have her landing, we get welcomed by a person named Ciara, who will be her guide. But she isn't here herself, it's rather her hologram, and she is guiding Rita via a robot. Rita acts all innocent and flattery-like, whilst Raven Ciara explains the lab park of medicine and the shipping of drugs and medicine. We also find out that Kevin is a big fan of ancient Egypt, with the way he has built some of this. I wonder if he would like Ozymandias from FG. With all that said and done, Rita gets down to business and asks if she could access the last 5 months of Honkai-related medical records. Ciara at first is somewhat suspicious, but Rita smooth talks her way out. To play along, Ciara granted her request with a tip saying she should watch her step because this city isn't as safe as it used to be. She also mentions a lone ranger saving people from this Honkai city. She calls her an urban legend as to tease Rita. Rita, knowing what's up now, she just gives a slight comment that she would wish to believe in this urban legend. Rita goes back to her ship and she demonstrates why she's an amazing lieutenant? Sergeant? Second in command? Seriously, what is she at Shixel? Anyways, she remembers Alviter and tells her she's from Echelon 3. Alviter is flattered and even fangirls a bit about Rita. Once she is done, she talks about the medical records. There were 4,000 cases under 35 categories. Rita is disappointed that there is so little and asks about Kiana. Alviter brings up one record from 2 months ago where she saved 2 civilians, and right after she had done so, she was traumatized. She wouldn't call it PTSD, but rather she was the victim of something. She also brings up mappings on her. She never went to a hospital, a shopping center, a building with any sorts of cameras, like a real ninja. Alviter is a bit disappointed in herself that she can't be of more use to Rita, but Rita tells her that she can handle the rest, and that she is grateful for this. Rita goes to Grey Serpent's territory and she hopes she won't have to leave such a mess this time. Once Rita observes the log files of this and goes through some minor disturbance thoughts about the Grey Serpent, seriously, what the fuck is this guy to even make Rita disturbed? Rita advises a plan that they need to carefully monitor the next Honkai attack in the city and that they should deploy the Immortal Blades to that site. Conveniently enough, there was a Honkai outbreak on the north side of Arc City, and the Immortal Blades were deployed. In this chapter, we also fight as Argent Knight Artemis. Her design is blue, black, crystal, and white. In this case, the color black is more light-toned, as not to remiss death and depression, but rather Rista's mysterious side. White and blue mix show her loyalty to Shixel and her purity of choice and justice, whilst the light blue crystal color resembles her tranquility. Her gameplay perfectly depicts that. Her normals are 6 consecutive attacks that give the enemy hypothermia. Once the enemy build up hypothermia, they will freeze. If you hold her normal attack, you will do her charged attack where she will summon glaciers on frozen enemies that explode. Not only that, but she summons 2 stands that deal damage alongside her. Her skill unleashes 3 ice cold slashes around her, dealing damage. And now, the real star of her hit. In true fashion of a badass ice queen, she swings her scythe around, summoning a guardian behind her in white clothes and a scythe of his own. As she slams the ground, the guardian prepares his scythe on his right side. This knight fights alongside Rita in complete sync. Not only that, but he can even shield some of the damage. If you have enough SP gauge, whilst the ultimate is still active, the Guardian will unleash several slashes in a massive area, inflicting further hypothermia and dealing massive damage. The entire kit and premise of Argent Knight Artemis is loyalty, mostly shown with her Guardian as she trusts him and he trusts her. That's why she peaks in combat. In my previous review, I called this a power move, but now I call this the dance of an ice queen and her retainer.
Once they defeat all the zombies, the Immortal Blades find out that these zombies had stigmata over their bodies. Rita says that Kiana has been spotted and this discovery is thrown to the side. We move to the side of Kiana where it's said she isn't aware of her situation. Once she clears the horde of Honkai beasts, she tells Rita to get out of hiding, which I'm pretty sure that says she was aware of her situation, but whatever. Rita teases Kiana a bit by asking if she should call her the Hersher of the Void, Kiana, or K423. They stand off and Rita begins explaining how Kiana should go with her, that she is the reason Honkai beasts are attracting and that she is unstable. Kiana refuses. Rita brings up that Shixel can cure her, stop these Honkai beasts. Kiana says that she doesn't like repeating herself, and Rita calls her a stubborn little girl. A fight breaks out where we fight the Immortal Blades first, followed by Acer Mechs, and finally Rita as a boss in her Argent Knight outfit. Much like Kiana, Rita is agile, but unlike Kiana, Rita has some unfair advantages. 1. She has a shield from her health, and 2. When she summons her guardian, she enters burst mode where the entire area becomes ice. Her knight attacks alongside her and blocks all attacks. Not only that, but can receive the hypothermia debuff. The only way to end this burst is to wait it out whilst unleashing a barrage of attacks to shorten the duration of burst mode. Not only that, but Rita can teleport and attack you out of literally nowhere. In this fight, I also found out that if you are stunned from overusing your Void Lance, you can use your ultimate to reset the gauge, which is ultra convenient, I'm not gonna lie. Once we fight it out, a small cutscene plays where it's mentioned that this battle roared with scythe slashes and bullet echoes had ended a moment notice. Once the two regain footing, Kiana asks her a question. What does she value more? Catching Kiana or saving the city? Where Rita laughs blissfully and says that catching her will save the city. After that, we see the CG continue. And notice Kiana was fighting Rita and the Guardian simultaneously. After a quick exchange, Kiana informs her that she can believe what she wants, but Kiana isn't the reason Honkai beasts are attracted to this city. Kiana pulls out a note and passes it to Rita, saying that stopping this disaster means more to her than getting out alive. Rita is visually confused and we see chapter 13's full image cover with its meaning. Rita was confused looking forward since it's focused on her ignorance and getting a new place to research information about. And Kiana was the one who was leaving with a step ahead of Rita continuing her research for what's attracting these beasts. The next set of chapters focuses on Rita's search, further giving meaning to Rita being the main cover of chapter 13. Rita had lent that note and the capsule in a symbol from Heliopolis to Alviter to scan it. Whilst Alviter was doing that, the game describes Rita as a pretty impatient person. The mystery behind this has been eating at her away. Whatever this mystery is, it's going to reveal something messed up, considering Kiana valued the safety of the city over her life. Once Alviter scans it, she reveals that this is a symbol from one of the bases in Heliopolis, where Shixel donated vaccines. She mentions that the contents inside were changed completely to boost the resistance of the Honkai, and that they have no pharmaceutical downsides either. Alviter brings up something we tossed aside in the previous section, the glowing signs on zombies. Upon further inspection and thought, Alviter says that they were most certainly stigmata. Rita questions it and says how this situation in Arc City is probably far more complicated than Kiana's powers attracting Honkai beasts. Stigma is a technology that Shixel developed for their Valkyries to boost their performance in battle. This medical lab having access to it could mean two things. Either they learn how to turn Valkyries into zombies, or they're able to put up stigmata sets on regular people, turning them into zombies. Either way, it's messed up and Rita makes up her mind to explore this. In this tiny exploration, we are swapped to Raven and Jackal discussing Rita's move. Both of them are pissed off since Kiana was supposed to distract them whilst they conduct their plan. No matter, since Raven is willing to answer some of Rita's question, at a price however. Jackal also tells Raven to leave some of her squad alive since she wonders if Valkyries will scream differently. They also talk about Shixel tyranny and how they are basically lying about protecting humanity, how Kevin's revival will cause their downfall. Not only that, but Jackal says some throwaway lines that make me wonder if World Serpent is actually the one who wants to save humanity. She tells Raven not to sympathize with the humans as that's worthless and she should rather focus on the entirety of humanity. Whatever is happening in Arc City, my guess is that they're experimenting on them for the greater deed of humanity, which is pretty fucked up, but I'm a Kiritsugu fan, so I probably should not speak about morals here. After this, we invade one of the labs on a stealth mission, which, as a Metal Gear fan, I must say, it's pretty damn good. We even have cool execution moves. The ID passcode we got let us invade past all the defense, and on our first note we find out that they have been giving free treatment to those struck by Honkai. Rita begins her suspicion that perhaps the price they seek is life itself. In our second note, it is revealed that the batch of 30,000 vaccines supplied through Shensho is gone. Not only that, but Alvita reveals that they can easily strengthen its effect and they can mass produce it, but they keep asking for more. Rita says that none of this makes sense and that she senses a conspiracy. With this note, our ID upgrades and we unlock a certain locked zone where we hurry over. Rita says with all these small dots connected, she senses something evil down here. Alvita tells her to back out since she is most likely in a dangerous area, but what she sensed is a small scent of a zombie. Her battlesuit was forged in a lab specifically made to fight the undead and sense them. A good hunter always fires a shot before they let their prey get away. With that note, this chapter ends and we jump into exploring this lab. Although the building schematics have shown that this building had no basement, she sent zombies from the basement. With this, she told her immortal blades to be at the ready as she may need support. With that, we fight with her dog, and we won't talk about what I think about that. On our way down, we fight quantum zombies. And once we get down in the basement, we see a giant tube in the middle, and many other tubes beside it. Rita was shocked to see so many specimens, different ages and sizes, some even with cybernetic features. Rita quickly skimmed through, hoping not to find a familiar face. Once she determined no one was familiar, she relaxed, but only for a second. She was furious. Even Alvita said her blood pressure is rising. Rita as a human could not accept these sick experiments. Despite being cold-blooded, Rita is only like that for the sake of Ara and Durandal. She still has value for innocent life. Rita finally connects to the main terminal and quickly finds out what she was searching for. The stigma. It was a fragment from the previous era. All humans contain stigma genes, but only a few can successfully bond with stigmata. Rita deems this inhumane as she also finds out that they plan to conduct testing on the entire city. At that moment, Raven interrupts the screen, saying that sometimes she even agrees with Rita.
What's that? I missed explaining the stigma file? Dog, you got me fucked up if you think I'm explaining all that, so... Here, enjoy.
In the last chapter of this section, we continue where we left off. The giant cybernetic child in the big tube had been activated. Rita had been surrounded and she called forth her immortal blades. Raven says that Rita spying on her allies is very typical of Shix. She says that the lives of her Valkyries would be a fair price for the knowledge she has attained here. Rita laughs very sweetly and says that the World Serpent has no idea who they are dealing with. After that, we fight some zombies and we beat them fairly easily. Rita laughs as they were victorious, but Raven isn't even flinched. It's as if she was expecting them to be beaten. After that, she launches a toxin. Rita quickly puts on a mask, but Raven explains that this toxin is a weapon made by Shixel to neutralize Valkyries and Honkai beasts. Breathing it in isn't needed, just a simple touch to their skin can take away their powers and they become human. With that, we fight our last horde of zombies and we cut to a CG. All of Rita's allies, her entire squad had been wiped out. But Rita was smiling, even on her knees. Raven calls her stone-hearted as she had just seen her allies basically get taken out, and she's still smiling. But Rita smiles even more after that, and gives Raven not a message, but a declaration of war. As Rita wasn't smiling at their defeat, she was smiling because she was thinking of ways to repay this kindness once the World Serpent falls into the hands of Shixel. And after that, this chapter ends. We don't know if Rita is alive or not, but I do know that Rita is the best character so far, and it's not even close. Holy shit, this arc is developing everything, answering a lot. Where has this been before? What the hell? I really love Rita's development and her actual personality here. She's ruthless and cold-hearted to those who aren't innocent. To normal everyday people, to her allies, to everyone on the side of fighting Honkai, she is nice to. Even with Kiana, she never intended to kill Himeko or Tesla. That sweet smile she has is a facade. Hence her personality being a maid. She is there as a wild card, someone who can access the situation unlike anyone else. With this, let's move on to the final section and find out what really happens. We are in Kiana's bunker and Fuhua is in it. They're talking about the Honkai outbreaks that have been happening over the past few months. Kiana pinpoints their locations and notices that they're all around big industrial buildings of Heliopolis. Kiana says that they probably hold the answers we seek. We also talk about Shixel and how Kiana had planned to let them solve all the puzzles for her. We go into the building to investigate and a stealth mission like Rita's begin. Once we get to our desired location, all we see are Valkyries and mechs. Kiana is in awe that these Valkyries are losing to these things that could be practice for them. She doesn't understand what's going on, but she helps them regardless. Once she fights off all the mechs, the Valkyries are afraid of her since they know she is the Hersher of the Void. but they are still more concerned about their squad leader Rita and tell Kiana to go. Kiana still chooses to help the Valkyries out, and we get a stage where we are brought with 2 missions. The first mission being that we investigate the lab, and we find something intriguing out. Kiana finds out about Project Stigma and how fucked it is. We also find out that the entire city is their testing ground for this. And all that is cool, but what intrigued me is that Fuhua knows about their leader. She knew about Kevin, and we've been wondering how he is alive. This brings me confusion, but I have no theory for this at the given moment, so let's just save Rita. Once we get down the elevator, we save Rita and she explains what had happened to her. We even go on a quick mission where we have 2 minutes to escape. After we escape the facility, we are on the rooftop, where it points out that Rita can't even scrape the armor off mechs anymore with the swing of her scythe. She has become that powerless. They get surrounded by World Serpent and Kiana creates a portal for Rita to escape, while she holds them off. Rita says she can't fight her mate urge to sweep off and calls forward a ship. It fails, but she gets a different idea and she initiates full sweep command. I wonder what that does. After that chaos, we have a small CG where Kiana is surprised at the hot-headedness of Rita. Rita doesn't dwell on the comment much and explains how they are in the clear. Due to her sweep, they will focus on covering up evidence now, since they have 10 hours before Shixel initiates their revenge. And because of that, they can have full focus on hunting them. After this, Rita collapses and chapter 13 comes to a close. Now we move on to chapter 14, Dispel the Darkness. The cover for this chapter are Raven and Kiana. Kiana is trying to move forward, but Raven stands in her way. Once we open the chapter, Raven greets us instead of Kiana and Rita. Not only that, we also have Mei in our upgrade screen. This does make me think they will finally reunite after all this time. I do love those news.
Opening up chapter 14, our first stage is a CG of 2 people on the moon. They're overlooking the world as they're about to initiate their plan. These people are Kevin and Hua. Kevin talks about his views of the world and the Honkai. Not only that, but he is also ready to face the repercussions of what happens once they end this. I really love Kevin's stance here. Despite being shown as an antagonist, we still see him here in the past where he showed human emotion, even comforting Hua as she apologized for something she did. This plan they initiated has changed him. It has probably shown him something that no one else should see. That's why he has such a twisted idea of ending the war against Honkai and saving humanity. Who knows? This theory is further backed up in the first stage of chapter 14, where Kiana wakes up and tells Fuhua about her dream. Fuhua reminisces the past and tells Kiana the truth. Fuhua isn't from this era, rather she is from the previous era, and she fought alongside Kevin there. She was one of his comrades, and they were about to initiate a plan to change the world to save it from Honkai, but it failed vastly. And for the worse, it changed Kevin. Fuhua doesn't let it end there, however. She says that they must leave Arc City now, because if Kevin finds out Kiana is here, he will kill her with no hesitation. Kiana is surprised and denies Fuhua, but Fuhua makes a deal since she knows how Kiana is. If there is so much so as a trace of Kevin, they will leave the city immediately. Kiana accepts this and they discuss further. They're about to continue investigating, but they look at Rita's body first. It's helpless, but Kiana knows nothing will happen as she deletes all her traces so as to not get tracked here. But as soon as she leaves, Rita wakes up. Following Rita now, Rita goes outside and tries getting her comms to work so she can contact Shixel, but it is to no avail. Rita leaves a message and hopes Durandal or Kiana's friends will get it so they can assist her. With this, we are brought back to Kiana again as she says she will assault the World Serpent's trucks as they embark based on their last position of fighting. Not only that, but she plans to fight Raven head on as to develop a further strategy to stop the World Serpent. She runs into some trouble in Arc City. Not only her, but I also got lost. So she has to set up bombs as distractions. Once she does that, she jumps on one of the trucks in Persuasion. With that, we get to our third and final switch of perspective. We get to Jakal and Raven discussing their next plan of action. Raven is quite afraid of Kiana as she knows how powerful Hershers are and she is aware of how Rita powerful is. The only reason she was winning was because of the poisonous gas. Jackal teases her a bit as supposedly the Hersher of the Void has caused some childhood trauma. Raven is also part of Satan's destruction. Jackal further starts teasing Raven until Raven finally gives in, saying she will do as the serpent pleases. Being at the end of the section now, Kiana finally attacks the truck and defeats the mechs around. One final truck assaults her, however, and she evades. This final truck was containing this poisonous gas, and this time it affected both Kiana and Raven. Kiana faced Raven head on as she herself is surprised that she will take a fair fight. Raven laughs with a grin on her face as she injects a serum into her neck saying, "There is no such thing as fair for the likes of you." And a boss fight begins. Raven appears in, dashing through the night. Once she begins attacking, she is relentless and quite annoying honestly. She can throw a barrage of knives that give the bleeding effect. She can move ultra fast around and set off explosives.
Once we get Raven down to her last bar, a cutscene plays out where Kiana is defeated and Raven wants to kill her, but Jackal says she should bring her back to test on her and see what really ticks her off. But to no one's notice, Rita was surveilling everything from afar. She tells Kiana to hold on a bit longer as this is karmic justice for her ordering her around earlier, and she prays someone accepts her humble plea of help. The following mission sets 30 minutes after Kiana is captured. Rita is in a conversation with Alvitar. They are talking about the mission, but Alvitar is more worried about Rita since she is still recovering. Not only that, but Alvitar tells her that Durandal is on her way. Rita says it's nice and all, but they can't wait for Durandal. Her body still remembers the Valkyrie training, and she heavily implies that because she is a Valkyrie, she does not enjoy winning a fight after the damage is done. Alvitar cries in pride and apologizes to Rita. We embark on another stealth mission where we are supposed to head to where Kiana is to find more answers about World Serpent's plans. Whilst this gameplay is going on here, I want to talk how much I love Rita here. Honestly, she might be the character that has grown on me the most. She is introduced as this mysterious Valkyrie that can rival Himeko, but over time we see her open up more and more. Her entire personality is that of a true maid. She bases her lines and operations off maid activities. Not only that, but her actions are what really make her. Despite having questionable morals, I can't talk enough how much I love the fact that she is still on the good side of humanity. There is no amount of emphasis on this. I really do adore Rita's character, and not only that, but she's one of the first, if not the first character outside of Kiana's friend circle to address her by her name or her last name. Everyone calls Kiana a Hersher or K423, but after getting rescued and having her brigade saved by her, she acknowledges her not as just a Valkyrie, but also a human being. Also want to briefly mention Kevin here, since I really like the direction his antagonism is going. He's being set up for possibly one of the best antagonists in history of video gaming, not just gacha gaming, which is insane. But now let's get back to the lab. As Rita enters, she notices fight clues. Not only that, but the tube is broken and there are no guards around. The entire scene is mysterious, and something is not aloof. It's as if Rita is getting hunted here. We explore the research lab first, and then we move on to the pharmaceutical lab, where based on a clue, Rita starts hacking into the system. As that happens, a silhouette ambushes Rita. That silhouette is Raiden May. She stands there towering over it as if she is the one hunting her. She is the huntress. Rita stands up and thanks her for coming here. May naturally questions how reliable she is, but Rita explains everything and gains May's trust. May defends Rita and helps her escape. In exchange, May finds out where Kian is and gives her the Serpent's Eye to free the Grey Serpent's child, Ningyo. We start another stealth mission, but with May, where we are trying to find the underground lab. And honestly, May has the best killing animation. Don't at me. The stage ends once we get to the elevator. Upon that, we are brought back to Raven, having a nightmare as she is healing from her injuries. She remembers her brother and how she was taken away by Grey Serpent, how the serpent trained her, fed her, housed her. But I also smell something aloof here, since it's very briefly mentioned how Nat's brother didn't prove any value to the serpent. And I imagine it will potentially bring in some future clashes with the World Serpent. Nat is healed up and is woken up by Jackal that greets her to the world again. However, this doesn't last long as we cut to a deep sea where a person wonders why they are still fighting. Why don't they just give up? But every time it happens, Fuhua calls them and wakes them up. That person in deep sea is Kiana, who has been tested on by Jackal. Jackal keeps torturing Kiana and keeps calling her a rat lab, whilst Kiana is trying to get answers. Not only that, but Kiana is mocking Jackal for her calculations of this plan. To end this, Kiana asks her where will they launch this bomb, and Jackal says she doesn't need to know answers like that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me show you what I call a peak character moment. Kiana smiles and shrugs everything that had happened with her with ease. Not only that, but she smashes out of the pot and tells Jackal she will not only stop Project Stigma, but she will crush the World Serpent and her stupid dog head. The ensuing fight is absolute destruction by Kiana as she talks how all this was just an act to get answers out of Jackal. Man, I love you, Kiana, that's my girl. Upon getting free, Kiana fights a weird quantum beast that I don't know how to describe honestly. It has the paws of a mutated beast and the tail of a scorpion, but it flies. The fight itself is tricky, but not overly hard. Upon defeating it, a door behind Kiana is destroyed down and she turns around preparing for another fight. When her gaze drops, she imagined a different million ways of this reunion, but this was not one of them. The person that had barged in was May. She hugged Kiana as tightly as possible, thinking that if she were to let loose even a bit, she would lose Kiana completely. But to Kiana, this reunion wasn't a happy one. She couldn't feel the joy of reunion again. She was afraid what they might think of her. May answers this by saying that all of them are waiting for her with open arms. Still, to Kiana, she couldn't just pretend nothing had happened. Despite acting like she had overcome the toughness of the Void Queen's nightmares, that was an act. She was yet to understand that others will welcome Kiana for Kiana. They knew she had Herrscher powers before and they still treated her normally. But now, Kiana is a bit too self-aware of herself. After this short reunion, we begin fleeing this facility, and the graphics here are quite blurry, or rather, I'd say the facility is on fire or something like that. Whatever is happening is messing with the graphics. Upon exiting the facility, this feeling is still there. The more we run to our destination, the stronger it gets. Midway through, Rita ambushes us, but in a good way. Rita has discovered where the bomb is and how it will explode. Not only that, but she has found a way to defuse it and save the city. Kiana thanks her and says that they need to get their ASAP when the same quantum beast from the lab appears again. And it's alive. Rita says that she will hold it off as she doesn't have enough energy to defuse the bomb herself and save the city. Kiana and May nod and begin going towards the bomb. This time, this quantum beast was absolutely destroyed because Rita is killed. Cutting back to Kiana and May, they are running towards a bridge, and when we finally get close to the bridge, we are ambushed by Raven. She had set some explosives to take them by surprise as she is ready to get her revenge. These explosions injure May and Kiana has to hold her. Raven begins mocking, attacking, insulting Kiana. She talks about her past and how Kiana probably doesn't care about her since they're all breadcrumbs ready to be eaten. With all this said, Kiana puts May down and says one line: "Step out of my way." Raven laughs and readies for a fight with the Herrscher, this time a proper Vice fight where Raven appears in the flashiest of way. A lot of the moveset is copied, except now she gets a new combo melee attack that has slight delays as to put you off. Once you breach below 50%, she destroys the bridge and the fight begins down. Raven opens up by flying and setting off multiple explosives and homing feather bullets that inflict bleed on you. Not only that, but she is a lot more agile and throws out more feathers often. Upon defeating her, Raven is telling Kiana to do what she had been designed to do, to kill her. Kiana lowers her guns down and refuses. However, Raven still laughs, saying she has delayed Kiana long enough and that she won't have enough time to save the city from the bomb. She laughs and disappears. Kiana falls into despair as she knows Raven is right. Not only that, but her body had begun collapsing due to exhaustion. She wanted to break down when Fuho appeared with a risky yet rewarding plan. She tells Kiana it's finally time to use the Void Queen's powers. Kiana is relieved but still worried about what would happen if she were to take control. Fuha smiles and tells Kiana that she has still enough strength to seal her away, and now she just needs to clear her mind and face forward to save the city. A train intervenes our camera with the symbol of the World Serpent. Once it passes, we see a silhouette flying across the city. That silhouette was Kiana. She had been parkouring across the skyscrapers towards the bomb. Not only that, but the crowd knows she is doing that. I simply cannot leave this bit out, so enjoy it. As Kiana is getting closer and closer to her goal, the World Serpent mechs begin appearing, and once she finds the tower with a bomb, lights are flashing at her. Despite trying to remain calm, her face here still shows a level of uneasiness. All this, and she has only used a fraction of the Void Queen's power. She's fully going in with her Valkyrie powers. Before staying on the final platform, however, a stronger mech stops her. She even uses her Valkyrie Neko Charm, but to no avail. And finally, knowing she will have to use it sooner or later, she uses her powers to teleport the mech's fists behind it, attacking itself and defeating itself. But as this mech is falling down, he fires a million rockets at Kiana, which Kiana uses to her advantage. She uses her battlesuit's other ability to slow time. She detonates all the rockets, boosting herself to the top. Once she does that, she goes to the bomb, and the immense pressure is shooting her away. As she puts her hands on it, her arms begin dissolving as if she were a robot. Her eye emits a vengeful golden glow, as she has to tear one arm away to protect herself so she doesn't take control. Even her face begins eroding, and a piano begins playing. When a familiar hand grabs Kiana's hand and calls out her name, the vocals begin playing. What is reflected in my eyes? As the camera zooms out a bit and Kiana notices it's Himeko. Himeko gives a glare to Kiana with a smile. A glow re-emits in Kiana's eyes, and we get another view showing that Himeko is invisible to us, the audience, but rather to Kiana, as the Honkai has been corrupting her body. Kiana says she promised her, reaches out her other hand and grabs the bomb, that they will shape this wretched world. As this line goes, her hair is straightened and let into fruition, into what we have always wanted. As she says this, we view her hands completely corrupted, but she manages to launch up to the sky. This time, we see the Herrscher transformation on Kiana's body for the second time. But this time, it is not a sign of danger, a sign of death, terror. This time, it's to save a city. As she transforms into her own version of the Herrscher with blue crystal eyes, we get a full 360-degree view of her body. And the lyric says, "I'll follow what my heart used to believe. In the following seconds I'm about to show you is what I would call the peak of Honkai impact. Upon the bomb exploding, we see a full view of the city indulged in beautiful spectral colors. Even the song stopped to remind us that there is a lot more to life than one goal we set for ourselves. After this, we cut to Mei running to where Kiana will fall. We hear footsteps and see Abyssal Flower grow an entire fucking tree. Kiana falls into this tree, unharmed, and a hand with black gloves is about to touch her face, is interrupted by Mei's voice. It is Durandal that has saved Kiana, and Mei is about to face her off.
Hey, it's after credits dark again. This is dark from night shift as well. It's 8 a.m. Is it 8 a.m.? Hold on. It's 8:24 a.m. I have not slept a single piece throughout this entire night because I really wanted to get this video out today. I plan to have at least one video every single 30 days, but I'd rather have it within 28 or 29 if you haven't noticed already with the Himeko and part 2 video. I really had a lot of fun making part 3 video because I enjoyed Arc City a lot, and I would say this is easily the best Arc saga story, whatever you want, so far in Honkai. It's not even a competition. 9EX, 11EX, 13, 14, all of them are fucking amazing, and I can't even begin to describe how. I love the characters in it, the setup, the finale, the peak, the antagonists, the setting, everything, especially Kiana's growth. Kiana as a main character is just fucking amazing, and I really don't know what to say. I really love her growth. I love symbolism with Fuhua. There was secrets revealed with Kevin, some outside lore for Kevin that will probably prove useful in the future, reunion with Mei and everything. I really just enjoyed it all, and I especially loved how they handled that suicide theme. It's absolutely gorgeous how they handled it. Suicide is not the option. It never will be. It never was an option. There is at least one person who cares about you, and if they don't, well, I care for you. You can always hit my Discord DMs, Twitter DMs, whatever you want. I'll hear you out. But hey, this is just a video game that we all enjoy. But yeah, that's been dark. I enjoyed making this. Well, if I must say, my favorite characters are Fuhua, Kiana, and Rita, which are both dominant in this arc. I really loved TRA with Starfall there. She was gorgeous with the voice, the text, the explosive moment, and yeah, I just loved everything about Arc City. It's not like Sea of Quanta where I literally lost my will several times to not just edit but record all together because it was just so boring, not for me. I really hated that gacha system as well. But yeah, hope you guys did enjoy this video though. I'll look forward to making the next one. I'll plan to do some interesting stuff with the next one, so thank you. Have a good day, good evening, or good afternoon, no matter where you are. Peace out, and always remember, fight for all that's beautiful in the world.